Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake ELLENBOGEN, and today I'm going to be talking about the Rams' new acquisition, Emmanuel Forbes. I'm really excited about this, so we're going to get into it. Before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Kick, and Twitch. And in addition to that, just want to let you guys know that today's sponsor is, of course, Prize Picks, and you can get $50 instantly when you sign up today using my code JKBogan and playing at least a $5 lineup. Win or lose, you're going to get $50 added to your account, and it's going to help you out because you'll be able to have some flexibility to do some different things over on that app. Want to know how to play? It's very simple. 2 to 6 players you pick. They have projections. Every single player does, whether that's touchdowns, interceptions, yards, basketball. You could be talking about points, assists, rebounds, all of that. You can mix and match, but most importantly, you have to choose one or the other. Is it more or less? Do you think a player's going to have more than their projected total or less? That's all you have to do. Promo code JKBogan. Check it out. Link is in the description below. All right, guys. So Emmanuel Forbes is a player. If you've been on this channel for a minute now, or you follow me on social media, then you'll remember in the 2023 NFL draft class, this was one of my guys. As a matter of fact, this is one of the guys that I really zeroed in on as a player that I thought made a lot of sense for the Rams. I think when you look at a player like this who's 23 years old, not even 24 yet, will be 24 in January, you get a guy that, came out in the 2023 draft. He's been a disgruntled young player. He's gone through 2 regime changes. He's been playing out of his, go-to scheme, if you will. It's been a bumpy road, but that doesn't have to define who Emmanuel Forbes as an NFL player really is. And that's the beauty about the NFL and just any sport in general, is when you get to this level, all these guys can play. And yes, sometimes it kind of corrects itself and players that aren't good enough don't make it. But I think Emmanuel Forbes is beyond good enough. I think he's got a lot of tools here to work with. And so the Rams, essentially what they're doing is by claiming Emmanuel Forbes off of waivers, they are solidifying the fact that he is going to be around not just next year, but the year after and potentially the year after that. What they did by claiming Emmanuel Forbes is they got a free first-round selection. This is somebody that was drafted in the first round the last year the Rams did not have a first-round draft pick. They liked him in the second round, and I think for a lot of people, when you look at the Rams and what they've done through the draft, I think you could say that they've done a really nice job. But you add a guy like Forbes, and if he works out, let me tell you something. This is going to be a huge move. This could be one of the biggest moves that Les Snead has ever made. Why? Am I overreacting? Maybe, but understand this. Emmanuel Forbes is a struggling player that has loads of talent and athleticism. You don't believe me? That's totally fine. However, his RAS score was 92nd percentile among all cornerbacks. He has a different type of size structure. You're talking about a composition of 6'1" and 166 pounds. Okay, he is thin, and that is something that deters people away. It deterred other teams away, but this is somebody that was supposed to be drafted in the second round and all of a sudden got a lot of buzz, and he ended up being a first-round pick by the Washington Commanders. His vertical is in 80th percentile. His broad jump is in the 78th percentile, but his speed grade is elite. Make no mistake about it. 97 percentile 40 dash, 20-yard split is 94th percentile, and 96th percentile 10-yard split. This is somebody who I think fits a lot of what the Rams are trying to do. You can play him in zone. You can play him in match zone. This is somebody that has a lot of explosion. He had a 1.49 10-yard split. I think, quite often, you'll have a lot of these corners be asked to just play bump and run, and this is just not a guy that's going to be able to do that. Okay, this is not a guy that's going to be able to play man at the level that you'd like him to. So I do think he fits the Rams in that regard because they do like playing a lot of zone, and I think the Rams definitely would have considered drafting him if he was there in the second round. They really liked him. That's not just from me. Sean McVay said, quote, he was a guy that we really liked, had a familiarity with just based on the evaluation coming out of Mississippi. And I thought there was some good tape and he's put out there when we've gone against him, particularly later in the year last year. Now, He only had about 6 snaps in that game, so that is just him saying essentially that we saw him. But say what you will, this is definitely a player that they liked enough to make a claim and cut a player that has been on this team the whole year in Charles Woods, a UDFA, who made this team and stuck around to this point. So he'll probably go on the practice squad moving forward. But in 2 seasons so far, Forbes has 2 interceptions, 45 tackles in 20 games. Now, mind you, he hasn't quite been a full participant. And what I mean by that is he hasn't exactly started a bunch of games either. This year really didn't do a whole lot. But I think when you look at what Forbes can provide for this Rams team, what was I just talking about in the live stream yesterday? If you guys watched, you'll know. I was talking about the fact that the Rams have needs that go beyond 2024. And I think a big long-term need is cornerback. And so this actually potentially scratches that itch to a level that I don't think Rams fans and the Rams were expecting. But sometimes things happen. Washington is getting Austin Eckler back off of IR. In order to make room, they cut Emmanuel Forbes, a guy who's been through 2 different coaching regimes. And people can say what they will about Dan Quinn, and I know they will. They'll say Dan Quinn turned Trayvon Diggs and turned Deron Bland into studs. Well, Dan Quinn was part of that organization when they drafted them. To be fair, Emmanuel Forbes was part of the organization when he was drafted. That wasn't exactly your favorite Washington Commanders team now, was it? It wasn't today, right? So I'm not going to blame Dan Quinn at all for not getting the most out of him. They went out, they made a move to go out and get Marshawn Lattimore, so they've moved on, right? But I do think Forbes' story has not yet been written. And when you look at the corners on this Rams team going into next year, you have Darius Williams, who may or may not be brought back. Next year, keep in mind, his cap hit for this year is $4.6 million. Okay, next year's going to be $9.1. There's not a lot of guaranteed money left, so they could cut him without really giving up a lot. I think he's taken a step back. Unfortunately, I do like him, but I don't think he's had his best year. Kobe Durant will be under contract. Next year will be a free agent in 2026. So you'll have Durant back, who's starting, $1.2 million average annual value there. Darion Kendrick will be back. You might have forgotten about him. $1.1 million against the cap. He'll be fighting. Josh Wallace, $980K against the cap. Akello Witherspoon is a free agent. We'll see if they bring him back. Didn't even play against the Saints, so not looking good there. Trey Tomlinson, a little bit over $1 million next year on the cap. And then you're paying the most if you let go of Darius Williams. You're paying the most to Emmanuel Forbes, but only $2.1 million. Thank God for the rookie wage scale. Otherwise, I don't know how Emmanuel Forbes would have been claimed. And that's another thing. Since the rookie wage scale basically calmed down how much these first-round picks get paid, I think it made it a lot easier to kind of facilitate this. So, look, Emmanuel Forbes doesn't have any stats for you to believe that he's going to be something special, okay? I'm just going to leave it at that. He doesn't have any stats for that. He hasn't had much success in the league so far, but this guy was drafted in the first round for a reason. Could he be a first-round bust? Absolutely. But here's my prediction, okay? I watched a lot of tape of his at Mississippi State, and I watched some of his games with Washington, and I gotta say, there's one game in particular that really stands out to me from last year against the New England Patriots. It's his best game of his career, if you don't believe me. He only gave up 2 receptions on 7 targets for 12 yards. That is who I thought he could be. He has got this rare explosion that you just don't see very often, where he can run the route for the wide receiver and run it better than the wide receiver sometimes. So this guy's special athletically, and I think he's got the football prowess to live up to why he was drafted 16th overall. Is he a bust for a Washington Commander? Yes. But is he an NFL draft bust? Is he never going to work out? No, that we don't know that. So here's my prediction. I think the Rams had a great idea and a great move that I was hoping they would make, but I didn't think they were going to make it because they haven't been that active with these type of moves this year. But this shows me that not only do they think that cornerback is a need, but they're also willing to look outside the box and say, look, if we can get this guy going, right, and we got a good looking coaching staff in the secondary, if we can get this guy going, well, guess what? Now he scratches the itch for next year. He helps us out next year. And also, guess what? They have a 5th-year option with him because they claimed him. If he made it through waivers without being claimed and he was just a free agent, the Rams wouldn't have been able to bring on these contract years. You got 2 years of control, so he's got next year under contract and the year after. And then, 2026 is his last year. You have to figure out before the 2026 season if you are going to pick up his 5th-year option. That is what every first-round pick has to offer. So if he ends up looking like a bargain and the Rams found something, they can now pick up that 5th-year option. I absolutely love this move because this is what team building is. It's not just drafting and trading. You also can find guys on the waiver wire. We've seen this before. We've seen guys practice squads, things like that. Darius Williams, for instance, fun fact, the Ravens were trying to keep him. Jimmy Smith comes back and they have to add him in the 53. So they try to slide him right onto the practice squad. He doesn't clear waivers. The Rams snag him. The rest is history. Ends up becoming a Super Bowl champion quarterback for the Rams and comes back for a second stint. We've seen this before with Marquis Christian. We've seen this before in a trade where you go after kind of a disgruntled, early second-round pick that was basically like a first-round pick in Austin Corbett, and you end up turning him into a stud. Well, Emmanuel Forbes, do not be surprised, and this is my prediction here. The Rams just claimed him. He is going to take time to learn and to really develop into what they want him to be. It won't be until next year where you really start to see what he can become. But I'm telling you right now, if they give him a fair shake, and this isn't just a 1 week, 2 week thing where they just pull the plug, they have to understand this is a long-term thing. And if they give him a fair shake, he'll probably play on special teams a bit. Keep in mind, they did waive Charles Woods to get him. So Charles Woods is a guy that played special teams, had some snaps on defense. In my opinion, Forbes probably doesn't see too many snaps on defense, maybe a few to end the season. However, next year, if all goes well, he will be a starting cornerback for the LA Rams. Will he be next to Kobe Durant? Will they draft somebody? I don't know. But this is what I'm talking about when it comes to finding talent and team building. And this is something that Les Snead does very well. It's why guys like Michael Hoyt, who are UDFAs, end up being key cogs on your defense, right? It's why guys like, say what you will about Demarcus Robinson. This is a guy that no one wanted, okay? He signed for almost the veteran minimum to go with the Rams. This is somebody now that is a contributor on their offense, right? You find players in different avenues. You find players in different ways. And Forbes might not work out, but it's a very low risk and very high reward move. This guy has elite athleticism. I still think he's an elite prospect that just hasn't even scratched the surface yet on how good he can be. You get him around guys like Aubrey Pleasant, and I feel really good about his future. So hopefully he sticks around too. But I feel really good about Forbes in the short term and the long term. I think what you can expect is he's going to start next year, and this is a really good pickup to build up down the road. However, the best case scenario, they end up finding a franchise cornerback. He's only 24 in January, and he's got that elite athleticism, that elite closing speed, recovery speed, whatever you want to call it. He has got that, and that's something that is needed in today's game. So if they can figure it out, he's a special player. I compared him to, special prospect. He hasn't quite become that yet, but I compared him to Patrick Peterson. I think this is a guy that can absolutely blow the roof off a venue, a game breaker, and I wouldn't be the slightest bit shocked if he made a huge play on defense as the year progresses. Okay, I'm not saying he's going to play a ton, but I wouldn't be surprised if he made some splash moment this year. and then it kind of just carries on into next year, him being a starter. There's going to be a lot of talent, fighting. Trey Tomlinson is still on the roster. You still have Darion Kendrick, I mentioned, Kobe Durant, Josh Wallace, and now Emmanuel Forbes. These guys are all going to be fighting for playing time. There could be another cornerback, added via the draft or free agency, but we're going to find out. All in all, you should feel very good about this move. I think this says a lot about where the Rams are at right now. Anyone that thought they were giving up on the season, well, that's not true. But anyone who thinks that they're not looking a step ahead is also not seeing the full broad scope of things. The reality is they needed to do this. I'm glad they did. I wasn't sure they would, but if he ends up being as good as I think he can be, the Rams got themselves one of the best moves in the Les Snead era. That is what I will say. So, Forbes, special athlete. Can that translate? Bad 2 years in, early 2 years in his career. He gets 2 more with the Rams and potentially more than that if things work out. We're going to find out. But let me know in the comment section if you believe that this was, 1, a good move. 2, you think that I'm right in that he is going to be a starter next year. And 3, what your thoughts are overall on Emmanuel Forbes. I really am excited about this move. I can't stress it enough. I hope it's coming across, on video the way that I'm trying to portray it, but very excited about this move. This is a guy that I've liked for a long time, and there's a lot of tweets to back it up. One of my guys. So with that said, appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to check out today's sponsor, Prize Picks. JK Bogan is the code, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, folks. Later. Just want to let you guys know that we are doing all 22 live breakdowns every single week, Rams football related, over on Kick exclusively. That's kick.com/JKBogan if you want to get in on the action. And if you want a little something more than just football, I also do gaming streams as well. So check that out. Link is in the description, and hope to see you there. Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.